Wilson pulls the trigger.
Welcome to Talkin' Jets. My name's Ryan, and I'll be your pilot tonight. I am oh so excited to join you guys with this great panel. We got a bunch of stuff to talk about. Do we have a franchise quarterback that's been sitting waiting in the wings for the last few years? Jets capture a victory against the Chicago Bears this past week. We're going to get into it. I've got Green Bean to my this way. I've got Mr. Matt O'Leary to my that way. Matt, how you doing tonight?
Good. It's a Victory Tuesday, which is always fun, and I'm sure we're going to have a blast talking Mike White and the New York Jets and going on the road to upset the Vikings this week.
I love it. Green Bean, how you feeling tonight?
Oh, Matt said it, man. We're going to go upset the Vikings. We're going to play we're going to actually play in a dome. I can't wait to see what this team looks like in a dome. I think we're going to be fast, kick their ass. That's what I think. It's an exciting week.
Yeah, right. I'm looking forward to this. Guys, if you're just hopping in, make sure you hit that like button. For every 25 likes we get, we're going to pick a qualifier for our t-shirt giveaway at the end of this stream. And if you're watching this after the fact, all you got to do is leave a comment down below this video to get entered into next week's t-shirt giveaway. Oh, so we did have Thanksgiving. How was your Thanksgiving, Matt? You know, how it was. I had a pretty good one. I had the family over here. We did the whole watch football, do the cooking, and then panic and clean at the very end, but it was good. Good Thanksgiving. How about you?
Yeah, same here. Good time with close family and friends. Way too much food. Probably a couple too many drinks, but a good night was had by all. So it was a good day for me.
Green Bean, what about you? How was your Thanksgiving?
All right. So here's how it went. So we were going to do a thing. We were going to go somewhere. It was still going to be mellow. We were going to go, and the morning of, we get a call. I'm waking up. And we get the call, the host has been vomiting aggressively all night. They have a terrible stomach bug. They just can't do it. Can you come over and grab the turkey and the 5 boxes of stovetop stuffing? So we went. My wife went and said, yeah, I guess. Grab the turkey, grab the stuffing, and I slept quite literally. If the day is 15 hours, I slept 12 of them. With no exaggeration. I woke up, I carved the turkey half alive. I ate a piece. I had a mound of stovetop stuffing, and I went back to sleep, dude. It was the best.
That sounds fantastic. Stuffing is my personal favorite of like the Thanksgiving stuff. I would say the stuffing mashed potato like mix, like you kind of combine it all together and eat it that way. Matt, what about you? What's your favorite Thanksgiving food?
I'm either mashed potato or sweet potato. Big potato guy. This Irish guy. Shocking, I know, but
yeah, that's funny.
Green Bean, is stuffing your like thing?
It really is. Now, but the thing is, it's rarely stovetop. I want you to know that. Like we usually do a thing like there's kind of like a sausage stuffing that we do. It's stuffed inside the asshole of the bird and the whole thing. You know what I mean? Like we do the whole thing. Like many years, we have a few stuffing recipes, and it's always like homemade. But I got to be honest, nothing's quite like stovetop, man. I was excited, like, oh, it's going to be stovetop. I haven't had that since I'm like I don't know, teenager. So I was just as happy, if not more happy, with the stovetop. But yeah, it's kind of my favorite thing. Like I'm with you. It's like the stuffing and potatoes, like mashed potatoes, sweet potatoes. I like candied yams. Like that whole section of the table is my gig. But I do like a good green bean casserole, I have to say. I do.
Cannibal. I love it.
Gotta do it.
Oh, it's good stuff. Good stuff. Well, guys, thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. Let's pull up our first topic. Let's talk about the Jets' victory over the Chicago Bears, 31-10. Jets take care of business. Green Bean, I want to hear your thoughts first. What'd you think of the game?
Well, here's what I honestly thought of the game. I thought that everybody was going to say, this is a bad defense. There are lots of injuries. We're not playing Justin Fields. So I thought about all that stuff before I even watched it. And guess what? Like a sage, like a prophet, all those things came true magically. And I was like, we're so used to it by this time. I thought Mike White was going to, I mean, Salah said it the best way. I wouldn't have said it this way, but I'll use his words. I knew Mike White was going to make the easy things look easy. And with all of the talent on this team this year, I thought that if he does that, just get the 6-yard pass to the tight end, get the 5-yard pass to the running back flaring out, hit Garrett Wilson over the middle for 11 yards. I thought if he can do those things, those guys are good enough, much better than what we had last year as a collective. They're going to turn it into something. And even though it was the Bears, you could acknowledge that they're not the Bills, right? But we saw exactly that happen. Now, Mike White got away with a couple, right? We know that. But I think all in all, it shows us that we've been overcomplicating things for a little while, making mountains out of molehills. And if we just run the offense nice and simple, like there's going to be a guy open. We've seen it time and time again. Mike White looks like a guy that can hit him. So this game he did, and we beat him 31-10. If it was 17-10, 14-10, maybe I don't feel as good. But the game settled down and we owned it the whole second half, and I feel really good about what this team did. In particular, Mike White.
Matt, what about you? How are you feeling about our victory over the Bears?
Yeah, I think Green Bean hit it on the head. The offense just looked so simple yet efficient and effective. And I think it was because Mike White came in and was doing all the right things. And I think you have to give him credit. Yes, it wasn't against a great defense, but it doesn't matter. He was able to execute everything that was asked of him. There wasn't anything, they didn't ask him to do any drastic, crazy, wild play, but he just took what the defense gave him. And I think that's what's so important. And when you look at what Zach Wilson was doing the last 2 weeks, he was making things very hard on himself. He was drifting backwards, or the footwork wasn't there, but White was just getting it out quick, getting the ball in the receiver's hands, and it was working.
Yeah, it felt like he was hitting the easy stuff. Like everything we expected Zach to be able to do, Mike White did. It was really, I liked it. It was good to see like some competent offense. The first throw, what was it, to Garrett Wilson, the quick slant? I was like, sweet. We caught a pass. We're rolling right now. We went 5 for 5 right to start the game. Then he had the one slightly lower throw to Wilson before he had the touchdown pass. I loved it. It's not anything crazy. The Bears are 30th in DVOA as far as defense goes. They're not horrible against the pass, but they were missing some players. They lost Eddie Jackson. So it's not like they were some dominant defense. And I don't think anyone's going to try and claim that. But you go in there and you say, okay, can Mike White execute, win the game? And I'll be honest, the first quarter of the game, I was like, oh man, defense is kind of coming out flat. Looks like they had a little too much gravy and stuffing, maybe some green bean casserole just a few days earlier, because they were sluggish. You saw Reed give up the touchdown. Sauce had the big penalty on him. This was probably their quote-unquote worst game as far as the season goes, which really wasn't that bad, because after that, the last 44 minutes of the game was a shutout. So it was nice to see that kind of kick back into gear. But I thought Mike White executed the offense perfectly. He spread the ball around to all his wide receivers and tight ends and running backs. He had 10 completions to different wide receivers. 10 different players caught the ball. Zach Wilson had 9 completions total the week prior. So it's nice to get some efficiency here. I really liked what we got out of him. I think the Jets can win with this. I really do. Green Bean, you think the Jets can win with Mike White moving forward?
Well, yeah. I mean, look, the only thing that concerns me is when you play a top-tier defense, their ability to capitalize on those plays look, the Garrett Wilson touchdown, the Garrett Wilson early first down. There were guys, like their hands were right there around the ball. Now it happens in football. We've seen it 1,000 times ourselves. Like your finger just, it just barely misses. But I think right? Like, ooh,
the sound effect was great.
Yeah, I'm working hard over here. I'm putting it out there for you guys. But yeah, I mean, I think all that considered, I think that's what this offense is. Like it wants to be predicated on the running game, on the utilization of the tight ends, kind of owning the line of scrimmage. It's been difficult with the rotating offensive line situation that we've been in, but they've done a good job. I think that they're trying to just do what we saw Mike White do. There's no reason to force something downfield. Look, there's one play that I want to point at, and I hope it's the right play. I believe it was the 16-yard Ty Johnson pass, right, to the left side. Mm-hmm. Mike White, he kind of floats out of the pocket to the left a little bit, and there was someone bearing down on him, coming right in his face. He just stayed there and threw it at the last second right to Ty Johnson, absorbed the hit, and we got a 16-yard first down. That is, without question, a play where Zach turns and boogies. And that, I think, is the difference. Like, look, I support Zach Wilson. I still want to believe that this kid that we used the number 2 overall pick on is going to turn around and be something. But that's what we're looking for. And particularly Mike LaFleur, I think that's what he's looking for. Just get it to Ty Johnson. Just get it to Michael Carter. You're going to have a couple options. Look downfield. It's closed. Take the check down. Just take it. And we'll get 8 yards and live to fight another play. And I think if we can do that, absolutely we can win with that plan and good defense. No question in my mind.
Yeah, you brought up that play, and I don't know if it was that one or if it was the Elijah Moore pass where he kind of like bounced off guys. But we talk about the talent that Zach Wilson has. He's got the arm talent, he's got the athleticism, the speed, where Mike White is kind of, doesn't quite have all that, but he has some really good pocket awareness. And you see him kind of slide around the pocket. You're watching defenders kind of come over his shoulder. He steps up just a little bit to avoid that pressure. We watched Brady do it for 20 years up in New England. He's not running around. He's just gliding in the pocket, just sliding around, letting guys use their leverage and their momentum against them. I really, really liked seeing that from Mike White. Matt, what do you think about Mike White? You think he can win us some games moving forward?
If he plays like he did on Sunday, absolutely. That's all you really need in this offense. You don't need a superhero right now. The Jets are built to run the ball well, which they did with a practice squad running back in Bam Knight. And I happen to like Bam Knight a lot. I think he has, a future as a potential, like RB3 behind Breece Hall and Michael Carter on this team. But, the guy hasn't played all season long, and he looked great. Ty Johnson, Green Bean's favorite player. Ty Johnson went off, had a big day.
Yeah, how long have I been yelling his name, Matt, right? Come on.
You've been one of his biggest supporters since I've met you, Green Bean.
Thank you. Thank you.
But they don't need their quarterback to be a superstar. They just need him to function, which is what Mike White did. And again, some of these defenses coming up, really Buffalo's the only one that gives you a little bit of a headache. So we'll see what happens there. If he plays like he did on Sunday, I don't know how you take him out.
Greg, Gabe, Jersey, and Edward, I'm going to get to your super chats in just a second. Guys, I pinned a comment in the live chat to vote for our Jets in the Pro Bowl. If you're watching this and you want to help our guys, we want to get as many of our Jets into the Pro Bowl, even though there's not really a game, it's going to be some skills competitions this year. Head over, click on the link in the pinned comment in the live chat, vote for all our Jets. Let's get them to the Pro Bowl. We deserve it. 100%. All right, before we get into these super chats, I want to play a clip that I saw from Richard Sherman, and then we'll come back on the other side, discuss it, and then we'll fire off some of these super chats here. So that was Richard Sherman talking about Jets quarterback Mike White. So I want to get your guys' thoughts on his comments, thoughts on the quarterback situation overall. For me, he's spot on. The pedigree. Like, if I told you, and we don't, there's 6 games left to see what Mike White has before we have to decide anything major. But if I told you you could trade the number 2 overall pick and a 5th round pick for your franchise quarterback, Matt, would you do it?
Yes.
Green Bean, would you trade the number 2 overall pick
Absolutely.
and a 5th round pick for your franchise quarterback?
Oh, yeah, of course.
That's Mike White for you.
I mean, shit.
That's what happened.
Right? Well,
right?
Yeah.
That's the way I'm looking at it.
We turned down 3 firsts. We turned down 3 firsts for Zachy Poo. So shit,
I know. It's a bad way to look at it, but I'm trying to give myself a little solace here. He's spot on though. The pedigree, the when you're drafted as an elite top tier talent coming out of college, you're going to get multiple opportunities. Josh Rosen was hot dog shit, and he got multiple opportunities in the league. So yeah, look, I hope Mike White can hold on to this thing, because the minute he has a bad game, it's going to go back to Zach, and I don't want to see that happen. Matt, your thoughts on the Mike White, Zach Wilson, and Sherman comments?
Richard Sherman likes to hear himself talk, but he does bring up a lot of good points there. I think, and my stance on this has been pretty the same all week, with it's going to be Mike White's job until he proves otherwise. Until he regresses, has a bad game, maybe a couple games. I know they keep saying that they want to put Zach Wilson back out there and that they're just trying to fix a few things. Then what was the line? Zach will roll when he's ready to roll, or whatever.
Let's ride.
If White keeps putting up, numbers like this, they're winning games, I don't think they pull him. It's going to be dependent on what happens with White more than what happens with Zach in practice.
Greenby, what about you? What are your thoughts on the Mike White, Zach Wilson / Richard Sherman comments?
Well, look, I think I rarely agree with everything anyone says, ever, right? There's you take and you leave but I think overall what he said was very accurate, man. We even do it. And who the hell are we? We go potential ceiling, all those kinds of things that we use. And I think it is kind of a shame when someone who is like a 4th, 5th, 6th round pick, they're not really given the same rope as somebody who was picked in the 1st round. Now you understand why they've invested more, and I get it. But Richard Sherman being, I believe he was a 4th round pick, right? Wasn't he a 4th, or was he a 6th? I think it was a 4th round pick. He kind of knows what that's all about. He was, in many respects, he was overlooked. He was forgotten. And he knows what it's like to feel that and come in and kind of own it and earn it, So I think, my favorite line in there was like, well, you're talking about bringing Zach back. Like, why? Like, if Mike White keeps playing, then why? What are we talking about? Now, the only issue with that is we can't let Zach go. And I'll leave it to you, both you and Matt, Ryan, are better than me, like at the numbers and stuff, really understanding the contractual stuff. But I believe like if we cut Zach, it's like it's like 20 million cap hit. Like it's really insane. He's going to be here for a while, no matter how you slice it. So we do have somewhat of a conundrum, but I like what he said, man. Production, whoever is playing, it's like putting Mike White out there or Bryce Huff. The Bryce Huff's an undrafted free agent. Guess what? Every time you put him on the field, he played 9 plays. Didn't it seem like Bryce Huff was doing shit all day? 9 plays, because he does something every single play. So it's like, why can't that guy get in when we have 1st round picks? And I love Jermaine Johnson just as a conversational subject. Like he's having a harder time getting playing time than maybe some other guys who were considered higher than him. And I think Richard Sherman's spot on coming from that angle.
Yeah. So looking at the contract for Zach Wilson, if we were to cut him at the end of the season or trade him, it would be a $20 million cap hit. I think that reflects a $2 million savings total on his contract. Obviously, his cap hit next year, if he stays on the team, is $9 million. So there's not really any reason for you to kind of trade him and accelerate that cap hit. You're going to wind up dealing with that. But what you could do is you could designate him a post-June 1st trade, or you could, I guess you wouldn't designate him. You'd have to wait till training camp, and you could wait till just before the season. There's like 2 weeks before the season. Now that we have 3 games, you're talking like roughly within the first 10 days of August, and then you got three total games that you can showcase Zach, because his floor right now is really through the bottom. It's like no one's going to trade anything of value for Zach Wilson right now. And unless unless there's a lot of venom to the locker room side of things, I don't want to trade Zach. I think his upside is higher than the 3rd or 4th round pick that you wind up getting for him. But I think when you look at a post June 1st move, you're talking about adding picks or players in like just before the season. We're going to have an idea what injuries we have. We're going to have an idea of what needs we have just before we go into the season. So if you're looking to move him, I don't know if in season is the time to do it, but I think just before the season starts off might be your best chance. to get something for Zach if you decide you're not going to move forward with him, or if you think it's not good to have him on the field. So interesting stuff. Matt, what do you think about the idea of possibly trading Zach Wilson at some point?
I would be surprised if they do that. I think he is going to be here next year, even if they bring in a veteran, or even if, who knows, if Mike White plays really well down the stretch, maybe it's Mike White and Zach Wilson in a competition next summer. But I think you only trade him if, like, you decide that, okay, it's going to be Mike White, and then you get to the summer and there's an injury somewhere else and a team gets desperate and says, I'll take a swing on the upside of Zach Wilson. I think that's really the only scenario in which they would trade for him, but that would be, like right on the eve of the 2023 season.
Yeah, and if you allow him to get traded, I think teams are going to want to see a full year from him next year with him in their training camp too, because now it allows them to watch a full year of Zach, and then you get to exercise his fifth-year option or not exercise his fifth-year option. It gives them that flexibility. So there is some value there. But hopefully, everything kind of turns around here a little bit and we don't have to move on from Zach. But the whole quarterback situation is fascinating. I'm excited to get into it here. Let's jump through some super chats. Edward Ziff says Justin Jefferson versus Sauce Gardner will be epic. Justin Jefferson and Thielen and Hawkinson and Cooks, like, it's a bloodbath for Dalvin Cook. I mean, you're looking at a very, very talented Vikings offense. So I'm definitely a little concerned. Like, I trust our defense to be able to play with guys, but I don't think they're going to straight up put Jefferson on Sauce. Like, I think they're going to try and utilize some different formations, get Jefferson in the slot to go up against Michael Carter a little more frequently. So I hope we get to see a lot of the Sauce versus Jefferson stuff, but I'm not so confident that the Vikings are going to feel the same way. Jersey Abrams says, the three of you have a great dynamic. Keep doing it. The game was what it should have been. Smash the bottom feeders. Now go beat Minnesota. Matt, your thoughts. Was the game exactly the way it should have gone?
Yes. They played a poor quarterback in Trevor Siemian and a really bad team and a really bad defense, and they took advantage. That's exactly how it should have gone. And yeah, ride that momentum. And there's no reason you can't compete and potentially win a game in Minnesota. I'm not going to say it's, going to be easy. That's a really good 9-2 football team, but there are ways to beat them.
Green Bean, did you think the game went the way it was supposed to go this past week?
Well, I'll tell you what. For about a quarter, no, I did not think that at all. I thought they were sleepwalking. I was very, very nervous. I was like, what's happening? Like, they did it again. They came out flat. I think there might be some validity to the idea that, they really worked on, preparing for Justin Fields, and then they get Trevor Siemian. I don't think Trevor Siemian's necessarily scaring anyone. At the same time, it's a very different game. It's a very different game that you're preparing for, and then once you get in there. But I think the game settled down. After a few hiccups, some missed tackles, they looked like they were, look, the Bears were trying, man. They were there to play. And I think, they lost Darnell Mooney and Eddie Jackson and all that. But I think the game just kind of slowly but surely settled down. And in the second half, I think we pitched a shutout in the second half, and it just, we owned them. I mean, we kind of showed like the cream rose to the top. 31-10 is exactly what I wanted to see. And yeah, I think it was the way that it should have gone.
Yeah, you take care of the teams you should take care of. That's the big moral of that story, I think. Greg comes in and says, starting Zach Wilson would hurt a team with playoff hopes. Yeah, I don't want a guy learning on the job right now. That's kind of where I'm at. Matt, what would it take for you to start Zach Wilson again?
Mike White throwing like 5 picks in the next 2 games, like really melting down, like a 2-game losing streak, and looking like the quarterback he saw against Buffalo last year. I think that's what it would have to take in order for them to go back to Zach Wilson.
Green Bean, what about you? What do you think it takes to go back to Zach?
Yeah, well, I'm sorry. I meant to say this on the last one. I will concur. I like our dynamic as well. I think we should keep doing it.
Yes.
I
Yes,
do.
yes.
Yeah, you guys are
I'm a
all
big
right.
fan of us. Yeah, I like you guys. So what would it take? Yeah, I think Matt just nailed it. I mean, like it would take Mike White imploding and looking like he did in the Buffalo game. Now maybe they give him two of those. Maybe okay. Well, he had a great game and a bad game. Let's see what he can do with the third game. But I think the Vikings is a pretty good opportunity. They're not a world class defense. They're not the Bears, but they're 25th in passing or 24th or something like that. And
I think they're 29th.
I
I think it's pretty far down.
All right. Yeah. So, and then for a while, at least the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season, they were the worst rushing defense. So there's another opportunity. Now our offense has to keep up with their offense and, going against that defense. But if Mike White can build up that momentum, I think it's going to be really hard to pull him, especially because like you mentioned it briefly a second ago, Ryan, which is we don't know what the locker room effect really was. I mean, they seem crazy psyched about Mike White. We saw that last year too. And I'm not one to pile on like they're showing Zach Wilson sitting in the rain, like they wait till he's, the 1 second he's got like the grimace on, you know what I mean? And they go, oh, look at this. This is not a good look. Like he's fucking sitting in the rain, man, for 4 hours.
Mm-hmm.
What are you going to do? How happy he's supposed to be. So, I don't know how real one side or the other is, but we do know toward the end there, Garrett Wilson, Denzel Mims, Berrios, and we know Elijah Moore, they weren't happy. They were frustrated. So is there more to that? Is Saleh kind of managing all that? So I think you would have to weigh all those things into account when making the switch. Mike White would have to completely implode, in my opinion, to go back to Zach right now.
Yeah, I agree with both you guys. I think a 2-game losing streak where he looks awful is probably the only way you go back after that kind of performance. The team is in his corner. Gabe comes in and says, Saleh handled the quarterback controversy like a seasoned coach. The next man up mentality is working and a testament to the depth Joe Douglas built. Yeah, I completely agree. I think the way Saleh has kind of handled this team overall between the Denzel Mims trade request, the Elijah Moore trade request, and now the terrible play from Zach Wilson and all the controversy and the comments that have been brought up between the post-game comments and, the tweets and things like that have sort of been going around. I'm really impressed with how Sal is handling this. Matt, are you impressed with how Sal is kind of handling it, or what could you kind of give your thoughts on that?
Yeah, honestly, like you could put Robert Saleh in Coach of the Year consideration. I don't know if he wins it. I think Brian Daboll and Nick Sirianni are favorites, but I think for what Saleh has done for this team, not only the quarterback situation, that's part of it. I mean, he's won games with 3 different starting quarterbacks. That's pretty damn hard to do. But the defense going from 32 all the way up to a top 5 unit, that's also impressive. Because people wanted to rip him all last year about how bad the defense was, and that he was a defensive, specialist, and that this is on him, and he should have been one and done, and all this nonsense. And I think he's done a pretty good job with this team. The one minimal critique, I think some of his clock management stuff could get a little bit better, but overall, I think he's been really, really good.
Scott comes in. Scott says, what we saw from Mike White, I feel like we haven't seen since Mike White. Loved every completion. I hope we beat the Vikings too. Go Jets. Scott, yeah, we're feeling that too. They showed the graphic up on the screen. It was the best first half of play since Mike White's game against the Bengals last year. So it goes to show you, like, he's the first quarterback in the history of the NFL to have 2 games in his first 4 starts where he went over 300 yards, had 3 passing touchdowns, and over 75% completion percentage, or 70, whatever it is. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Absolutely awesome.
I know, right? And it's like, why do we have to minimize that? Like as Jets fans, like, look, I know, believe me, I talk just like you two. I talk to so many Jets fans at any given week. And there are a lot of us. It's like we want Zach Wilson to succeed. You love him, you want to believe, and then there's the supporting, Joe Douglas. There's a lot of layers to this. But it's like, if we're just looking at what's in front of us. Like, let's just be real with no emotion. Zach was completely lost, right? He was an absolute mess. And Mike White, just like you said, we haven't had that many yards in the first half since Mike White. And like, what does that tell you? Like, there's something here. No, I'm not saying he's Joe Montana. I'm not saying he's Tom Brady. But why can't we just go, you know what? Good job, dude. Let's see if he can do this again. Like, as a collective, all of us just support him, not have to find reasons that he succeeded and Zach didn't. LaFleur doesn't call the same offense. Oh, it was the Bears. Like, we find all these reasons that it doesn't matter, that it doesn't count. The kid's doing a good job. Now, can he keep it up? I don't know. But maybe he's earned our support, huh? What do you think? A little bit? I think so.
I think so. I want to look something up real quick because I think I'm just trying to get my timeline correct here. Yeah. So get this. Robert Saleh has been a part of a franchise that has had to make tough decisions like this in the past. In 2012, the Seattle Seahawks signed Matt Flynn to a big-time contract. They drafted a quarterback. What was it, in the 4th round in Russell Wilson?
Third round.
Third round. And they decided they were going to play the rookie instead of the high-priced guy in Flynn. Wound up winning a Super Bowl because of it. Robert Saleh was on that Seahawks team as the quality control coach. So I think he's not going to be afraid to stick with White. I think he's going to stick to his guns if he thinks that's the best way for the Jets to win here. Red John comes in and says, crazy stat, Jets have the #1 pass offense over the past 2 years if you take out the games that Zach Wilson started. LOL. Also, wouldn't mind seeing a few more blitzes. Is that accurate? Does that even seem like plausible?
I don't know how that could be.
I mean, Mike White has 2 games. He has 1 game over 400, another game over 3. I know Flacco, Johnson both had games over 300 as well. That's wild. That's an insane stat if that's the case. I can't prove the validity of this. But I guess there's a shot that that's true. I mean, how many games has Zach missed? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 games maybe? I think he missed 5 last year.
Yeah.
So it was 3 and then sat out.
When we take out all the games Zach started, if we just took the Flaccos, Whites, Josh Johnson, like those were the #1 offense in the NFL? Is that right?
Over the course of the last 2 years, I guess that's what Red John's saying.
Yeah. Red John, where'd you find that, man? Who's doing that work?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That feels like I want to see that math homework. I think someone forgot to carry a 1.
Yeah. JetX hiring some guy. They're like, we want you to do this. Here, check it out. It's going to sound weird.
This is the outcome we want. How do we get there?
Exactly.
If you count every game that Zach Wilson did not start that had a full moon, while the Giants were playing 1:00 games, Zach Wilson or the Jets are #1 offense. Like that it feels like such an obscure stat. It can't be real. I hope it's real. Raymond comes in and says, control the running back and hit Kirk Cousins early and often, and the game is ours. Matt, I want to hear your thoughts on how you think we should kind of go about defending this Vikings offense, because I'm kind of at a crossroads a little bit. I don't know if I want to try and rush 4 and get to Kirk and drop 7 to try and neutralize Jefferson and Hawkinson and Thielen. But like, this game feels like it's the biggest pressure test for our linebackers because of Cook and because of Hawkinson. How do you think we approach this Vikings offense?
I think they do exactly what they've done since about week 4 this year, which is rush 4 and get home with their really good defensive line and your 2 stud corners on the outside. I'm a little bit, I'm not going to lie, I'm a little bit worried about the safeties and linebackers in some of these matchups, but I think the recipe is, as Raymond says here, get to Kirk Cousins. He's had games against tough defenses where he's thrown multiple picks. He had a 3-pick game against the Eagles this year. It was a miraculous game against the Bills, but he threw a couple picks in that one too. So he is prone to throwing some interceptions at times. And if the Jets can pick him off once or twice, I think that could be the difference in this one. So I think it's just about getting pressure with your front 4 and letting the rest do, what they have been.
Chris KV drops in, says, Mike White's play style is what the league considers a field general. That's exactly what he looked like. Nothing flashy except the scoreboard. I love it. Yeah, 6'5" guy. He's looking over the offensive line. He's not running around like crazy. He's doing the things that are efficient. Someone commented on one of my videos and said, this is store brand Jimmy Garoppolo. And it made me smile because I buy the store brand stuff. It's the same as the name brand stuff, and it's all right. Mike White's got the stuff. I want to be like Mike. Green Bean, your thoughts?
I think, well said. I love myself a good Kirkland up in New Jersey, Pathmark. They have no frills. I like this all. Basics, all these brands. I'm a big fan. They tend to be, in some cases, even better. So I'm not afraid to go with the store brand stuff. And, the other way to say that, right, is poor man's. Like, so he's a poor man's this, he's a poor man's that, whatever. I forgot. I lost my train of thought, but like a poor man's version. I got to say, poor man or not, if he's producing, I support it. You know what I mean? Like even like when and I'm sure we'll get even deeper into the Ty Johnson thing. I don't hate Ty Johnson. I don't feel comfortable with Ty Johnson. Now, why is that? Because I've seen 2 years of him fucking up. That's why. You know what I mean? It's not like I'm not rooting for him. Like he has these games. I think he had one of these last year. He had a couple in 2020, a couple 100-yard rushing games, good receiving. I just am nervous when he's the guy, right? But I'm rooting for him. If Ty Johnson can turn around and turn my Kirkland bag of granola into what's better than the name brand, good. Let's do it. Let's fucking eat that granola. Like, that's how I see things. And man, I'm not afraid, 4th round, 5th round, undrafted free agent. I'm not afraid of those guys being the ones that you end up counting on.
I don't know if it's store brand, but I think my least favorite one that I've come across is like the store brand Dr. Pepper. It was called Dr. Thunder from our shop, right?
Walmart.
I remember buying it as a kid, and I was like, ugh, that was a mistake. Not fun. It
Dr.
was not
Thunder,
good.
no good.
Would not recommend. Not Dr. Thunder. Dr. Pepper, good stuff. Taps Any Button says, I don't know if anyone or if everyone noticed, but the team as a whole seemed to take shots at Zach, especially these recent interviews from Elijah Moore, Saleh, Garrett Wilson, Mike White, Mike LaFleur, etc. I was listening to some of the post-game comments, and I don't know if they're necessarily jabs, but I think there's appreciation for the things that Mike White does that Zach Wilson didn't do. So Mike White saying, I come into the huddle, I want to be a calming presence to the guys. And I think you could see that maybe a little differently. Saleh saying he did the easy stuff. He took the easy stuff. The excitement from Elijah Moore afterwards, I'm excited to get back into it. I'm rooting for everyone, whatever. Are they shots at Zach Wilson? I don't know. I'm not sure. Matt, what do you think? Do you think the comments that we've heard from the team and the coaches might be a little bit of a dig at Zach?
Yes, they all hate his guts. They want him dead. No, I think some of it's a little bit reaching, but at the same time, kid needs to be humbled. That's why he's in this spot. I think part of it is the comments that he made in the post game last week. So he needs to eat his humble pie right now.
I agree. If he doesn't have his green beans, he's got to have his humble pie. Scott comes in and says, if we can get 75 to 80% of what Mike White did on Sunday consistently, we will be a hard team to beat, and we already are. You guys rock, go Jets. Thank you, Scott. Yeah, I completely agree. I think if we get 75% of what Mike White did this past week consistently, that will be a good look. Look, we played a decimated Bears team with a backup quarterback. There's some, I don't want to say some asterisks that you might want to throw on this game because of the level of competition. I know I saw a bunch of comments saying like, oh, well, if Zach Wilson played, he would have had a similar game. It's like, yeah, but if Zach Wilson had a similar game to this, I'm not giving him the credit that I'm giving Mike White right now. I'm looking at him saying, okay, this is exactly what Zach Wilson should have done against a bad defense. And that's kind of where I'm at with Mike White. Like, I'm really excited about Mike White. I'm glad he duplicated his performance from last year, but I'm waiting to see what next week holds. So how does he perform against the Vikings? How does he perform against the Bills? And then if he performs well against those, now we're going to start picking up and getting a little bit of heat going. Matt, you think 75 to 80% of Mike White is a winning formula?
Yes, I think it's unrealistic to ask for 100% every week. That's not sustainable. But if he gives you 75% of what he was on Sunday, that's a pretty damn good day. And we talked about it earlier. Like, that's the winning formula. You don't need your quarterback to do a whole lot. You just need him to do things correctly and keep the fundamentals down. And if he does that, they'll be successful.
T. Rivera comes in and says, Mike White is a pro, can make all the throws. He plays with such a rhythm. How fast he goes through his progression, his accuracy is off the chart. It's definitely my quarterback. I have to say this. I think my biggest takeaway from Mike White this past week that is different from last year is last year I was convinced, hey, everything's 5 yards from the line of scrimmage. It's all dink and dunk. And he did have a little bit of that, but he made some big time throws, some really his arm strength's better than I would have given him credit for. And I'm not specifically on the second Garrett Wilson touchdown, not, obviously not the run after the catch, but the throw he made to get it over the linebacker's hands. He threw that on a rope. And he's putting it in the position where guys can catch the ball right out in front of him and get the yak. And that's what Zach didn't do. Zach has a bad tendency of getting the ball to his receivers, but it makes it hard on him. Like, they got to contort their body to go backwards, and they're not able to run and get the extra 4 or 5 yards that might get you down the field, that might get you a first down. Green Bean, I want to hear your thoughts on this. Mike White, he can make all the throws, his accuracy, his progression. Do you think everything you saw from him is the what you want to see out of your quarterback consistently?
Excuse me. Yeah, I think, well, let me say this first. We have, wow, it just dropped 100. We had, a second ago, we had 860 people in here. Now we got 740. I don't know what the hell just happened. But either way, let's get some likes. Every 25 likes, guys, I pull a qualifier for the free t-shirt at the end of the stream. So if you haven't liked the stream yet, go ahead and do that, because I like doing it. I like compiling your names and everything. And again, there's over 700 people in here now. So we could get a lot more likes and I could pull a lot more names. That said, yeah, man, I mean, look, again, I was nervous about a few of the throws Mike White pulled off. All right. The two that made me most nervous, one was the early Garrett Wilson first down, the little slant. It was like, right. I mean, it was an inch away from being either blocked or potentially a pick. And then there was the touchdown where that linebacker jumped up and it went like right through. He was just a split second late. Now, look, it happens. And that's good. It's not to say it's bad for him, but I'm a little nervous about, I don't know how that's going to work out, right? So I'm a full supporter of Mike White. I think what we're seeing, how he's, climbing the pocket, how he kind of floats to the side a little bit, even on the designed rollouts. Like there was one, he rolled out to the right and he was looking downfield and he had his arm cocked and it wasn't there. And he threw it to, I believe it was Michael Carter. Forgive me if that's on. And he got 3 yards. It was like first down or whatever it was. He was looking downfield. It wasn't there. And he took the 3 yards. That's what we, all of us have been saying about Zach. Just take it. Just take, stop running around like he would have made a right-hand turn, stop and then went back the other way and all this crazy shit. And then maybe even threw it to the other team or something like that. So I think what Mike White is doing that I like is not only is he able to kind of see the field, what looks like a little bit better, I think he's just taking what's there. Like the plays designed for this, it's not there. There are contingencies, written into the play. Just take one. If it's 3 yards, oh man, I really wanted to get 20 on that. So what? It's 3. And that's what you got. And give it to Michael Carter and maybe he can do something. I think that's what we really wanted to see from Zach. And it's what we saw from Mike White. So if he can continue that, I'm going to be happy.
Disregard Papa comes in and says, in the wild card, which team would y'all prefer to play? Oh, this is an easy one for me. I want another crack at the Patriots. I want to win the division and go up against them. I want Mike White to just drop his big old nuts on the Patriots. That's what I want to have happen. I want the Patriots. Give me one more crack at them. Pooch Guy comes in. Pooch Guy says, side note, love Conklin and Uzama out in front of Braxton destroying guys, then chest bumping, Smash Bros vibes. Yeah, did you see the blocking with those two? They are having so much fun. And like as soon as you see them, I think it was the Barrios run. It was either Barrios or one of the backs. And they turn around and they start like, slapping hands. They're excited that they just bulldozed over a bunch of guys. Like those are the types of tight ends that we've really needed here for a long time. Matt, your thoughts on the tight ends blocking?
It's great. That's why you went out in free agency and signed 2 tight ends, so you could do just this. They were utilized probably the best they've been this year, and I love it. It's a ton of fun watching them involved. I like this team when they are using all of their weapons, right? When they're not just focusing on one thing. They had a good day running the ball. They were able to get it to Elijah and Garrett, the tight ends, and Braxton. Spread the love. It's good. I like it.
Court Jester, I didn't see a comment in there, but thank you very much for the super chat. Sorless says, if we do trade Zach, where do you think he ends up? I would say the Rams. I think McVay did like Zach pre-draft, and I think with Stafford kind of getting up there in age, them not necessarily being in a position to grab a quarterback to be the heir apparent, I think Zach could learn. I think he's made for LA and made for Hollywood and stuff, so I think if we were to trade him, that's probably where I would maybe pencil him in. Andrew Yale says, if we miss the playoffs because Zach lost 2 times to the Patriots, it's not going to happen. We got this. Jets aren't going to lose. You look at the schedules of the other teams and how the Jets have been playing. It would be heartbreaking if we didn't make the playoffs. Like if we went 10-7 and lost in a tiebreaker to the Pats, that would burn me up, I think. But I don't think it's going to happen. I think the Jets will wind up taking care of business. I think there's a good shot they beat the Bills. I think there's a good shot they beat the Dolphins. I think there's still a shot the Jets could go for the division. Green Bean, your thoughts on what would happen if we missed the playoffs because Zach missed those 2 games?
Yeah. Well, look, that would be kind of a carbon copy of sorts of 2015. I mean, it was the 2 losses to the Bills that stopped us. And really it boiled down to the 1 loss to the Bills. So, but yeah, that would be the most painful way for it to happen, in my opinion. The most painful way. I mean, the only other thing would be like we're in against Miami and we lose, like something like that. That would be equally disappointing. But I don't think that, I mean, I don't think that it'll come down to that. I think like we're either going to be in the mix or not. I mean, obviously it counts, but I mean, look, let me just say that it would be the most painful fucking way. But I'll say this, Ryan. I agree with you. If I had my druthers and we make it to the wild card and we can pick any team, I want the Pats. I don't give a shit if it's in Foxborough. I don't care if it's at MetLife. I'd prefer MetLife, but dude, I think if we just get decent quarterback play, we're gonna murder them. That's how much I believe this team is better than them. We needed complete implosions for them to squeak out with wins. I mean, look how they won. So anyway, I think that would be my best case scenario, and I think that we would absolutely lump them up from the first play to the last play.
Right. Flight Right says, I hope we smash Kirk Cousins. Still remember how he used the Jets to get more money from the Vikings. Yeah, him and Anthony Barr in one offseason, I'm pretty sure, right? I think that's how that worked.
No, it was 2 offseasons, but still. Motherfuckers.
Terrible. Hate him. Terrible person. Don't want anything about him. I don't care if that was my first video about getting Kirk Cousins. I don't want him. I want to beat him up.
Was that your first one?
It's my first video. Why the Jets will sign Zach? Why the Jets will sign Kirk Cousins? Dude, I was so positive it was going to happen. It was like, It was all teed up, and he went to the friggin' Vikings. Whatever. Good.
Hey, is that video still like up? Can you like scroll all the way to the back and find that?
You could find it. Yeah, it's my first one. I looked super awkward. Super awkward. Yeah, my cadence was not there. I didn't have any sort. My thumbnails were all goofy and stuff. Like everything was. Yeah, I don't know how many views
I found it.
But
oh, really? Already?
Oh yeah, it looks amazing. Fantastic.
It's very raw. If you want to see just how far you can come in 5 years, that's where I started.
I love it. I love it. I want to look at it. I can't believe that. So what a good, like, kind of, this is like somewhat of an important week for you then. Like, this is kind of full circle, if you will. I like it.
Yeah.
This is good.
Absolutely. I want to kick his teeth in. Absolutely right, Alvarado.
Right.
Oliver comes in. Oliver says the national media is underselling Mike White. He's capable of setting records. Look at Brady. Short, accurate passes. Poise. Quick decisions. Matt, is Mike White capable of breaking records? Mr. I'm already in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I mean, you took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say he's already a Hall of Famer, so he already crossed one off the bucket list.
I love it.
Who knows? Yeah, sure.
Mr. Downtown comes in, says, heard some Vikings fan chatter. Belief is they will have the edge because of their skull, crowd noise, motivation for division clinching win, and Kirk's win percentage in 1 p.m. games. Yeah, that's going to be interesting, right? Like, I was hoping this game would be flexed, so that way he was going to have like a worse shot at winning. But yeah, this one's going to be for them to clinch the division, because I think, is it the Packers or Lions that are sitting in second? They got like 4 wins.
Lions. The Lions.
That is a horrible, horrible division.
I know, it's crazy. It really is. I mean, I think the Lions, as bad as they are, their draft pick right now is like 14. Like, their draft pick. Isn't that crazy? Like, they have 4 wins and they're at 14. Like, that's how shitty these, like, a lot of these divisions are right now. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, the AFC East and NFC East are both like over 500. And I think all 4 teams right now for the NFC East are all in the playoffs. The AFC East, we were all in there until the Patriots lost. Couldn't happen to a better team. John comes in with a super chat. John says, the Jets covered the majority of games. It's been a long time that I'm smiling to the bank, betting on the Jets. Here's some love, guys. Love the content. Thank you, John. I am superstitious, and I will not be betting for the Jets. I literally bet against the Jets every week because I'd rather lose money and watch them win than try to win money on them winning and being all sorts of pissed off on my Sunday. So I'm actually the opposite. I don't know. You guys can let me know in the chat if you're of a similar ideology as I am. Let's see. Oh, sorry, just catching back up here.
See our boy, you see Sam Darnold down there looking good? Huh? What do you think?
That's exactly where I was going. John brings this up too. He says, hot take, Sam Darnold will lead the Panthers to the playoffs. That is a hot take.
I would love it if they could somehow overtake the Bucks. Oh, I would love it. As much as I'm not rooting for the Panthers per se, I would love it, man. That'd be delicious.
It would make me feel good. I like seeing Sam do well too. Like, I have no ill feelings towards Sam. He was a great, team player. I wish we had this talent with Sam, because I think we would have actually, done something with him. AP14 says, what up, boys? Go Jets. Did you guys hear one of the Fox broadcasters saying our defense doesn't have any game changers? I did hear that. They clearly have not been watching any Jet games, because our entire defensive line is playmakers. Sauce and Reed are playmakers. CJ Mosley had an interception, to like in the red zone. This defense is loaded with playmakers. That's why you guys come to the YouTube content sphere, because we actually watch our team play. It's important stuff here. Brian Bogan says, given the success and potential of our team, what upcoming free agents do you think will want to come to New York next year, and who would we want? I'll be honest, I don't really know many of the free agents that are hitting the market. The only ones I've really kind of keyed in on are the quarterbacks. It would be like Jimmy Garoppolo, Gardner Minshew. Those Brady. Tom Brady, potentially Tannehill if he gets cut, Carr if he gets cut or traded.
Yeah. There's Sam Darnold, Daniel Jones, Bridgewater. There's a lot of them.
Right? Throw them all in there. Screw it. Breece Hall, Michael Carter, Josh Jacobs, right? We're going for the running back too. We'll just go all balls out. I think this offseason for me is more so about retaining our own guys and drafting players that we can plug in, and going with some lower, I don't want to say lower tier guys, but guys that can fill roles for cheaper contracts. Matt, your thoughts on free agency this upcoming year?
Yeah, 100%. They're not going to go blow the bank. Number one, they don't have a ton of money to spend anyway for the first time in a while. And it's about, retaining your own guys and depth stuff. You're going to fill out your roster. You're not going to go out and be like Jacksonville of last year and spend crazy, crazy money and bring in a ton of guys. You're going to supplement the roster, and you could do that in free agency and then go out in the draft and continue to add as well.
Yeah, I think when I'm looking at this team and I'm looking at some of the guys that we might move on from, like I could see us moving on from Carl Lawson. I think if Mike White finishes out the season and he's not overly reliant on Corey Davis, I think Corey Davis is a goner. I was more so in his camp to hold on to him if Zach was going to be our guy, but with Mims kind of getting a little bit more playing time, I think that's sort of, they're trying to get Mims up to speed to take Davis's spot for next year. HV8019 says Wilson should have started versus the Bears since all he has faced was top defenses, but keep him on a short leash. This game would have been good for him. I've heard that argument, and I definitely did make that argument prior to the benching of Zach Wilson. And I think for me, this was the right move for the locker room. If I saw Zach Wilson have a good game against the Bears, I'm not going to be overly excited. It's like, okay, that's exactly what he should have done versus a backup quarterback. Like, I think having him sit and kind of take his lumps from the team are more important than having game reps at this point. I think deactivating him was a smart move. I saw a bunch of analysts, say like, oh, he couldn't have even been the backup. Like, he didn't even dress. Like, who cares? Like, we didn't want to put him in as the quarterback. Like, deactivate his ass, activate someone else. I think that's the correct way to do it. Green Bean, your thoughts? Should Wilson have started against the Bears?
Well, I'll tell you what. The day before they announced that Zach would be benched, I made a video and thumbnail that said Zach will start against the Bears. Less than 24 hours later, I got a litany of comments talking about this didn't age well. So
I love those.
He should, right? I'm like, oh, the hindsight brigade. I love you guys. Welcome back, hindsight brigade. So yeah, I know, this is like this aged as well as stale or sour milk. All those things. So I thought that he should start, right? I thought that it was a good move to kind of put him on notice. Like, okay, man, the whole untouchable phase of your career is over. We're really needing you to turn this around. We'll work with you, help you, but you're on a short leash. You're going to start. If you look like complete shit by the end of the first quarter or at longest the first half, we're going to go with Mike White. That's the way I thought it should be done, right? That said, we don't know to what degree the erosion in the locker room was really happening. We know it was there, guys. Like, we can't just discount that. All the way out here, we saw it. We saw Garrett Wilson. We obviously know about Elijah Moore. We saw Berrios. We saw Denzel Mims and all that stuff. So, and that's, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe even Michael Carter, who's not one to show any frustration, showed a little bit of frustration. So, like, we don't know if that was just the tip of the iceberg, and there was real kind of cracks in the dam. Like, why are we giving somebody? It's like leaving a wide receiver. He drops 5 passes a game, and he's still starting over everybody. Like, why? I don't think they would do that. If you put a running back in, let's say Breece Hall fumbles 3 times a game for 4 games, it's like, how long are you going to hand him the ball? So I think that might be one of the aspects that, we don't know, but we might be overlooking. If that is the case, then I support Saleh having the gumption to do that. It takes balls to do what he did, man. Make no mistake. That couldn't have been an easy decision. And I commend him for doing it. If, when you put your finger on the pulse of the team, if he's doing that to kind of quell a little bubbling up mutiny, you know what I mean? So you don't want that shit. You don't want the team to kind of crumble all because of one guy. So yeah, I thought he should have played, and I thought he was gonna play, but just being on a short leash. But obviously that didn't happen. So I also think that this was a good move. Clearly, Worked out.
So I'm a little disappointed. I saw in the chat just now that the Chargers Dolphins game got flexed to prime time. I thought the Jets Bills were going to get flexed to prime time. I kind of wanted it. Wanted another crack
Here's
at
why.
it. We're 1 o'clock.
There's a reason for it. CBS
It's probably because
protected it.
I was going to say it's probably because every other team is hoping these teams lose for playoff implications. It's probably a ratings thing. What do you think, Matt?
Supposedly CBS protected it. They wanted to keep Bills Jets on their network.
Ooh, interesting. I like that. That makes me feel better, right? Like it's like, oh yeah, we're so good. They don't even want to give up the rights to us.
Yeah. See, we
And
thought
also
it was
1
a
o'clock
negative.
is elite.
Is elite. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, 1
you know,
o'clock is
Matt,
elite.
it's so funny because like everybody's like, they're like begging for the flex. I'm seriously hoping it doesn't happen. Like I want 1 o'clock. That's what I want. I want 1 o'clock on Sunday. I don't like.
Me and Green Bean need our warm milk and to be tucked in bed by like 9 o'clock. We can't be staying up for these games.
Oh man,
Exactly,
I am
man.
like, I'm up to the wee hours in the morning. I want prime time, baby. I want the whole NFL to be put on notice about the New York Jets. Jonathan Moore comes in and says, who do you think is hotter, Wilson or White? I'm going to say Wilson looks like a 12-year-old boy, so I'm going to say no to that because that makes me feel like a pedophile. So I'm going to say Mike White because he's QB1. He's gorgeous. Love that guy.
Really?
Green
This
bean.
is a question.
Yeah.
Who do you think?
Yeah,
is
who do you think's hotter, Wilson or White?
Wilson, clearly.
You know what?
We're
Here,
gonna
let's
do this.
Let's do this. Let's do a poll question. Let's do it right.
Who's hotter? Come on, guys. Come on, boys. Let's do it.
It's
Let's shed
Exactly.
any preconceived notions that we may have or hold. Let's just let it go. Who's cuter, huh? Zach.
Yeah, it
Zach,
says
you
hotter.
put-
That cuter and hotter are two different things, in my opinion.
Oh, then yeah. Forgive me. I agree that hotter applies as well. Zach Wilson is the hottest. The only guy that might have it on Zach is Mike LaFleur, bro. He's another looker, that bastard.
We got a bunch of good-looking dudes. We had our
got a
kicker from
good-looking
last year was a good-looking dude too. Amendola.
Even Salah. Yeah, Mendola,
Love
right.
it.
We got a bunch
Sal's a
of
good-looking
Yeah.
dude. Psh, look at it.
We got
Love it.
There's no Vladimir Dukas running around the Jets right now.
Mr. Ugly. Euphoria comes in and says, how about the media praising us for benching Zach Wilson? Now a week later, they're criticizing us for not knowing what to do with our first round pick, Jets versus all. Yeah, we got to put our backs against the wall because the whole media is out to get us. Like, no matter what we do, I was listening to Chris Sims on the way, I dropped Becca's sister off at the airport today. I'm listening to him on the way back, and I'm like, really? Like, you're giving us a bunch of crap for benching Zach Wilson after the comments he made and the style of play he had? Screw him. Screw the whole media. I'm done with him.
Right.
Mr. Downtown.
Guys, listen.
Yeah.
Well, real quick. Guys, this is why, like, my mantle has been, like, the whole time that we need to cut it out with like arguing amongst ourselves and getting like really like violent and like really personal, because the rest of the league, the whole NFL, all of the media, every fan of every other team, they hate us. They laugh at us. They take nothing. There's nothing that delights them more than to kick us, to poke us, to join hands. There's a Chiefs fan and a Niners fan and a Bills fan all holding hands together going, the Jets. That's what they do. We need to stay together because we're all we got. They're dying to kick us. And that's just the thing. Like, even though we're winning, even though our team is clearly on the ascend, they're still taking every opportunity that they can to poke us in the ribs, man. And just know it's coming and stick together, man. That's my whole thing, and that's the exact reason why.
Andy, trick shots. Oh, sorry. Hold on. Let me go back to Mr. Downtown. He was saying Dolphins versus Chargers flexed. Why does NBC hate us? Matt brought that up. He said it was because CBS protected the game. Andy Trickshot says, what puts the Jets in the best position after this Thursday's game, a Patriots loss or a Bills loss? I'm trying to figure it out who to root against. So if you want to just get in the playoffs, the Patriots losing is the best route. If you want the division, it's Buffalo. So for me, I want the Patriots to beat Buffalo. because I want to face the Patriots in the playoffs. Like that, like I'm sorry. I want to go for the division. I don't want to just get a wild card. I want the best possible seeding for us that we can get. But really, it's kind of a win-win for us this week. You can kind of sit back and observe how each team plays. Matt, I saw your face. How you feeling about that?
Yeah, I don't love that because the Patriots have the tiebreaker. That's what I'm scared of. If the Jets and the Patriots have the same record, then the Patriots are going to be the ones that get in because they have the tiebreaker, where the Jets have another crack at Buffalo. So they could theoretically beat Buffalo twice. And if the Jets and the Bills finish with the same record, they would be able to be in the playoffs and the Bills wouldn't because they have the tiebreaker. So I would say knock the Pats 2 games back behind the Jets if the Jets win. And that makes me feel a lot more comfortable.
Yeah, I can understand that. I think the Jets, if we take care of our business, we don't have to worry about the Patriots. We can get in without the Patriots can win out. Look, if we take care of our business, we win out, we get in. Green Bean, your thoughts? Who do you want to win, Bills or Pats?
I need time. Right, my first thought, it's like you said, like I just went back and forth probably 12 times since you've asked me. I think it's obviously about us, right? Like that's what it is. I hate both. I really do want to see the Patriots just crumble to dust like that. I want Bill Belichick to walk out of the league like a beaten, sad shell of his former self. Like that's what I want. But it's more important that like it applies to us, So if we keep winning, obviously the Patriots are behind us. They can't do anything. We control it. That said, they are sniffing at our heels, man. So kind of seeing them kind of, get stuffed down the drain could be nice, but grabbing the division, which I just can't even believe we're talking about in December, we're about to be in December, boys. You know what I mean?
Meaningful games in December.
Dude, it's crazy. We haven't done this since 2015. It's amazing. And then only once since 2010. It's crazy. Special time, everybody. But I think I'm probably going to end up rooting for the Pats because I want the Bills to kind of stay within reach. You know what I mean? Probably.
Yeah, let's take care of business. I love it. Sky C says, I'm impressed with Max Mitchell's ability this early. What a great find by JD. Then again, the whole 22 draft is contributing tons. Yeah, the only one we really haven't seen yet is Ruckert, and there's no reason to have him out there yet. We have 2 really good tight ends. Matt, your thoughts on Max Mitchell's ability to start this early?
Yeah, I've been thoroughly impressed with him. I thought this was someone who they wanted to develop for a year. That's why I think a lot of us were a little apprehensive about him starting right away, but he's come in and played really good football. He didn't start the game. He wasn't expected to play, but due to injury, he came in and looked like himself. I don't know how George Fant gets himself back on the field if he ever gets healthy. I think he's gonzo at this point.
Yeah, completely agree. There's no reason to play Fant with the way Mitchell's playing. Ramani AD says, hey, fellas, it's frustrating when the NFL experts and media talking heads have completely downplayed Mike White's stat line. Mike White dealt with a crazy downpour of rain and wind and still balled out. Your thoughts? So I've seen kind of a split in the media because I was watching Cowherd. Cowherd was very complimentary of Mike White. Sean Payton was very complimentary of Mike White. Richard Sherman, complimentary of Mike White. I thought Shannon Sharp, very complimentary of Mike White. And I understand teams talking down because of the players that were missing from the Bears, and I think that's fair. I'm okay with still putting a target on our back. I think I'd rather them downplay Mike White's ability to quarterback and kind of have a little more bulletin board material. Matt, your thoughts on the Mike White stat line and the media playing it down?
I haven't seen it. I've seen a lot more praise than I have seen people put it down. I've seen commenters put down the performance, but not people in the media. So I don't know. You kind of went through it. Green Bean, did you see any examples of people putting it down?
Putting down Mike White.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I've seen
I put
a lot
him on the
of
spot. That's bad
minimizing. Yeah, I'm sorry. I should be paying attention. I got a
That's all
text
right.
from my wife, whatever, or not from
That's
my wife, but
important.
anyway, it was a previous text, I guess. But I will say, balls be hurting is our latest qualifier. That's funny. I don't know. I don't know if I've seen too much bashing or like putting them down, but I have seen minimizing. Like, let's see what he can do against a real defense, like that kind of stuff. The only real bashing I've seen is Jets fans. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think we're being the hardest on them.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I've had a bunch of commenters across Facebook and YouTube that have been like very aggressively like pro Zach and like not anti Mike White, but like, oh well, Zach would have done the same thing, and like I just don't agree because Zach hasn't been able to hit the easy throws in the other games. So what makes me think he's going to hit the easy throws in bad weather? I don't know. Kyron comes in, says, we can't harp over Zach's busting now as we are winning. We have a good money situation, great defense, and playmakers on offense. I have like $500 in Zach rookies, but I will eat that for one playoff berth. Yeah, that sucks. You have that many Zach Wilson rookie cards. But hey, that's the roll of dice. Hopefully you got some Mike White rookie cards sitting in there because I'm smelling franchise quarterback coming down the pipeline. But yeah, look, Zach White busting, it's a sunk cost, right? We were talking about this yesterday on the call-in show. You've already spent the pick on Zach Wilson. It doesn't make sense to compound it if you think he may not be the guy. Let's see. Who's up next? Tony. Where's Tony? Tony Papers comes in, says,
Gotta go
first
get
off,
the papers.
First off, love having you three talk Jets now, and how you guys feel about our game. How you feel about our game. I'm hoping we can sustain it through a playoff run. Think Knight is a diamond in the rough. Wow, Tony, you got to work on your like button clicking because that is a very, very hard message to read. Yeah, look, I think Knight could be a nice little diamond in the rough. I think running back 3 next year is squarely in the conversation. I would argue you probably don't. I would say you keep Bam as the third running back right now. Like you may not want to play Robinson just yet because you give up instead of giving up a 6th round pick, you give up a 5th round pick if he gets enough yardage, and there hasn't been enough from Robinson to necessarily play him over Bam. And worst case scenario, if someone goes down, you have a guy fresh for a playoff run if you had to. So yeah, I think we can sustain it. I think this is the perfect time at this point in the season to get that spark and have that Nick Foles, Carson Wentz kind of energy going right there. Matt, your thoughts? You think Bam Knight is a diamond in the rough, and you think we sustain this through a playoff run?
Yeah, I think he absolutely is. Now, I'm not going to say he's going to turn into like a star running back, but I think he's going to be a serviceable role player on this team. And I love the point that you bring up with James Robinson. Like, I don't know how you could possibly take Bam off the field after the performance that he just gave you. And obviously something seems a little off with him. I don't know if he's still banged up or what, but why are you going to put him out there on the field and potentially, have to give up a 5th instead of a 6th if he's not really producing anyway? And you have this guy who you have as a cheap undrafted free agent who you can just run out there. So I think you keep running him out there.
Yeah. And the other thing we were talking about too was with Corey Davis coming back, they still want to keep Mims on the field. Losing Jeff Smith means we're losing a special teams player. By keeping Bam Knight on the field, you gain that special teams player back that Brian Robinson was not. So I think that is important to take into account. Ramani AD also says, what will be the excuse when Mike White beats the Vikings/Bills? I don't think there's going to be an excuse. Especially if Mike White leads us past the Vikings this week and it's like an impressive victory, there's going to be a ton of buzz about the Jets. And then I think the Bills game sets up to be like a really, really big matchup. It sucks to kind of have maybe 2 potentially really good performances against NFC teams, and we just can't seem to figure it out against, the Ravens or the Bengals or the Patriots ×2. So, I don't know. I don't think there's going to be any excuses that the media is really going to be able to give. Andrew Yale comes in and says, boys, how good is it to be talking playoffs in December? Matt, how many times at the end of September, beginning of October, are we talking about mock drafts? I love that we're having relevant games, let alone possibly talk about the division.
No, exactly. And that's the thing. Like, obviously, the quarterback situation's been a little bit frustrating, but you sign up for this every single day of the week rather than, like, I don't know, on October 6th, you want to be looking at mock draftable or tankathon or whatever. No, we're talking about real football here, and it's been fantastic.
Matthew 1340 is a pleasure as always. I'd like to shout out all of us who were in the pouring rain. Stadium vibes were great. Most at a rainy game in 15 years. Yeah, dude, I have to admit the fan presence and the volume that you guys had in the stadium was impressive. That was something that, like, as someone who has had season tickets before, that's a game I offer free tickets to someone else. I'm not sitting in the rain, in the cold, paying for the parking. Like, you guys are troopers. I'm sitting on my couch. I'm making some snacks. But yeah, dude, Matthew, you guys held it down at the stadium. The chants for MVP and Mike White were awesome. Loved hearing it over the announcements and over the microphone. Kevin C says, what a difference a few weeks makes. After the bye, Pats game, this panel was saying it'd be crazy to bench Zach. Hallelujah. Is that what he says? Hallelujah? Is that what that is? You all found God. Look, after the Pats game, I thought it made sense to play Zach Wilson against the Bears to build his confidence. And you give him a half. You call it a short leash. I would have been fine with that. Now, I think there's probably more going on in the locker room, and they wanted to hold him accountable for the comments, and I think that's why Saleh was late coming out to that press conference and everything. I think they handled it the right way. I think it would have sucked to have, like, won that game. Like, I feel like if Zach Wilson plays that game, it's like a 17-10 nail biter and Zach has like 120 yards or 150 yards, and that's like, oh, this is great. You know, we rebounded. We won the game. The stats don't matter. Like, that would have drove me nuts. The players, the other 52 guys on the roster, deserve to have a quarterback that can hit them in stride. They got money on the line as well. So yeah, I support the move, even though I didn't just last week. Saunders says, I'm thinking of betting $100 on the Jets for a Super Bowl win. Thoughts? Saunders, I'll tell you this. I'm not going to tell you how to bet, but I only bet what I can afford to lose. So if you got $100 and you want to cash in, put yourself a new down payment on something nice, throw that on the Jets to win a Super Bowl. I love it. Absolutely love it. But don't come yell at me when it may not work out. Only bet what you can afford to lose. Joseph,
responsibly, of course.
Yeah, right? See? It's all right. Who cares if you got to take out another mortgage? It's fine. Joseph says, do you think the Jets should be open to trading Hall because of the significance of his injury while his career is at a high? Joseph, I want whatever you're smoking because this is absolutely asinine. I'm not trading. I'm going to assume this is not Breece Hall, but I think it is. He's talking about the injury.
Yeah, he's talking about Breece.
Joseph, thank you for the $4.99, but I'm sorry. I completely disagree with you. I'm not trading Breece Hall. This is a prime running back who's going to come back. And I think when you talk about ACL injuries, there's different ways to come back from them. Like when you have someone like Saquon who cuts and like goes down on his knee buckles, there is a mental aspect to coming back. Breece Hall didn't really cut. I don't know if he even knew he tore his ACL at the time. Like he just kind of like twisted and collapsed. And to me, I don't think there's as big of a mental hurdle coming back from that because it's not like he trusted his leg to hold him up. It was more of like the way he got tackled injured him more than anything else. Green Bean, I want to hear your thoughts. Are you open to trading Breece Hall?
No. It's not even on my... A matter of fact, let me say this. I'm not even open on trading Bryce Hall. Okay? Ooh. I'm not open to trading either of these Halls. I mean, I think, like, look, dude, it's nice to see that our premier running back can go down and we're able to still have some serious production, like legit guys. We have some legit talent. maybe not to his level, but it's nice to see that we have some depth, including Bam Knight. But let's be real. Assuming he can come back and be who he was, he's far and away the best running back we've had here since Curtis Martin. Now, I mean, he's got to stay healthy, right? That was kind of a freak thing. It's not like he's injury prone. His knee got like all folded backwards. It got like hyperextended or whatever it was. So I hope he can stay healthy. But if he can, he's far and away the best back on this team. I wouldn't want to trade that away because of an injury. And hey, real quick, did you guys see Bryce Hall on Instagram put out like a Zach Wilson collection, like a couple plays, and said he'll be back? Mm-hmm. And then like an hour or 2 hours later, it was gone. See that?
Oh, geez. That's interesting. No. I wonder if he got like blasted by it. Like it's like, oh, hey, like
maybe. Right.
Let's not put pressure on pulling Mike White back yet.
Yeah. And think about it, like in his particular position, I mean, he's on the 53 every week and he's inactive, right? So he's that guy just outside of the guys who are active. And he's probably, him and Zach are kind of in the same boat right now. He's probably pulling for him, feeling it for him, all that type of stuff. But, I mean, I think you can be supportive, but at the same time, it could be looked at as kind of a shot at Mike White. And it was gone. Like, I looked for it. I was trying to show somebody, like maybe an hour or 2 hours later, and it was gone, which I thought was interesting. Maybe somebody said, hey, cut the shit. Stop it. You know what I mean? Get that down.
We don't need to hear from the backup cornerback. Yeah, dude, Greeny, right. I'm right there with you. I don't want to trade any of these guys because we're talking Super Bowl run. I want as much depth as possible and contingency plans. What are you going to trade him for? Unless you're trading him for someone that's going to start on your team at a position of weakness, like I'm not trading anything for draft picks. Joe Douglas has proven he can get talent from the waiver wire, from his like draft picks that he already has, undrafted free agents. Like I think he can get talent without draft picks. I would rather trade away draft picks to get proven players that can help us contend for a Super Bowl right now. Matt, your thoughts on trading Breece Hall?
I like it. I would even say trade AVT. That Nate Herbig guy's been pretty good too.
Yeah, there you go. Fuck it. Get rid of trade Jermaine Johnson, Michael Clemens, and Bryce Huff are good. You know what I mean? They're good.
DJ Reed's been good. Want to add Sauce Gardner in too?
Yeah, seriously. Sauce. I'm more of a chowder guy. Like, sorry. Let's get rid of him. Ablab says, we face the Belichiefs twice a year for infinity. Let them lose their games. F them. Ablab doesn't want the Patriots to be winning. Yeah, look, I'm more of a, I'm not going to say Bills fan, but I enjoy watching the Bills play. Like I can appreciate the Bills turning it around and doing it the right way. Like they have guys that are likable on that team. I would prefer to watch the Bills just absolutely dominate the Patriots. And then the Bills get a whole 10 days to prepare for us. I don't know. I'm not sure how I want this to all play out. Like what's
dude, like that. Oh, sorry. Go on, Matt, please.
I was going to say, go to overtime. Like, take it all the way to the last second. Beat the snot out of each other. Really get banged up.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like I totally feel what Ablab's saying. That's kind of where my heart is. It's like, I don't care. Just pound them into the ground. That's what I want to see. I don't give a shit. Just beat the Patriots. That said, if we do have some legitimate path to kind of taking the division, and that can help, I would have to to lean that way. The whole thing with me, like when I'm watching a game, like I try to use my head and think who I'm going to root for. I find out in the first drive or two who I'm really rooting for, because my body, like my mind, I just yell like, yeah, like, and then I guess I'm rooting for that team. You know what I mean? I never know.
It's fair enough. So I'm looking at this. So Bills are 8-3. And I'm looking at what Edward Ziff is saying. He says, root for Bills versus Pats to tie, best case scenario. If that were to happen, so the Patriots would they be a half a game behind us at that point? I think if we would have to lose for them to be a half a game behind us, I guess, because we'd have the same amount of losses. The Bills would be 8-3-1. Yeah, I mean, I guess the tie's not the worst. What do you think, Matt?
The confusing thing is it gets to win percentage eventually as a tiebreaker. So it's not as there's a little bit of a gray area if you're throwing ties in here. I'm not a math guy, never claimed to be, but it complicates things a little bit.
Certainly does. Certainly does. Brian comes in. Brian says Conklin pulled a Corbett and went gloveless. I didn't even notice that, but I really like Conklin. The two of the tight ends, like, they don't complain. They're palling around, like watching Mike White do the post-game interview and then having Ruckert, Uzomah, Conklin, and Tomlinson come up and just start like shaking them and like patting them on the back and everything and palling around. Like, this team is excited for Mike White, and Conklin has been a big reason for the continued culture change, along with Uzomah. Like, I love watching these guys getting mic'd up and rumbling down the field. Tight ends are a big part of today's game. Big fan. Matt B says Chris Sims made a good point about the Zach Wilson situation. Now I'm a little upset that I didn't clip it so we could show it, so I don't have the comments here. Did either of you guys see the comments from Chris Sims, Matt?
No, I did not. He's a Zach guy, so I'm sure he was in his corner.
Green Bean, did you see any of the comments from Chris Sims?
I didn't this time around. No, I didn't. What did he say? Was he being nice or mean to Jets fans this week? What was he saying? I saw it last week.
Yeah, so basically he was saying he doesn't understand the Jets. He thinks it's a bad move to go to Mike White. Like, hey, this is finally a game that Zach Wilson could perform well. He just faced 7 of the toughest defenses that a quarterback could face. And, you know, he took you to 5-2. The only games he lost were against the Patriots, who just seemed to have his number. I like Chris Sims a lot. I do value his opinion a lot of the times, but I felt like his last few comments were like comments that he gave to rile up the fan base, and like he didn't really actually watch the game. Because if you were watching Zach play any of those first 7 games that he played, it was clear as day. He could not hit the open guys. He could not hit the wide receivers that were right in front of him or the running backs out of the backfield. Like, the easy stuff was just hard for him. And I think giving him the mental reset and sitting him on the sideline was the right move. So I completely disagree with Chris Sims and his kind of takes. I wish I had clipped it because then we could have all heard it together. But I think it was the right move. Ian comes in and says, Brady, Cousins, Russell Wilson, Prescott, all drafted in later rounds. We're obsessed with drafting round 1 quarterbacks. Maybe Mike White is the guy long term. Ian, I completely agree. There's no reason that Mike White can't be the guy. The biggest issue with Mike White is the hundreds of quarterbacks that were taken over the course of the last 20, 30 years in that mid-round that have not worked out. As you listed, there's guys that have worked out that have been mid-round quarterbacks. And when the coaching staff is not afraid to pull the trigger and say, hey, look, this guy's playing ball better, let's start him. Let's give him the opportunity. I think Mike White can have that opportunity. He's sat, he's learned, he's taken his lumps. You know, I have no idea where this ends up. You know, how much are you going to have to pay him to come back next year? Like, I think there's a lot of squirrely situations. We're lucky enough that we get to sit here for the next 6 games and watch him play and just kind of evaluate. And then you figure it out and you hope he comes back on, you know, a somewhat reasonable contract so maybe he can compete or start or whatever. Matt, what are your thoughts on Mike White possibly being the long-term guy given some of the success of some other mid-round quarterbacks?
I think I need to see more before I'm ready to get to that point. It's not out of the realm of possibilities. Anything could happen. I want to see it a little bit more consistently over the next little bit before I make a jump to that point.
Yeah, I would say these next 2 weeks are going to be critical for my evaluation of Mike White. Green Bean, your thoughts on Mike White possibly being the long-term answer, you know, even though he was a 5th-round pick. You know, we have this, you know, this love of drafting the early quarterback. What are your thoughts? You think Mike White could be the guy?
The truth is I struggle to think that Mike White is the guy. I struggle. Now, that said, I think last year he showed us some stuff and then he had the rough game. And I think that could really be beneficial for what he's able to accomplish this year. Okay. Like he had the ups and the downs and the Hall of Fame and the injury and the comeback and the 4 picks. Like in that short little time, he went through a lot. And I think, experience is the one thing that you can't get any other way, right? Like that's the thing. You experience is what you get right after you needed it. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I think that could really bode well. Now, that all said, I was talking with Dom C. We were doing a live stream the other day, and he brought up, it might have been from Nania, but whoever, they had a list of like the last 15 years of top 5 pick quarterbacks, right? So there were 15 top 5 picks that were quarterbacks. 4 hit. So 11 were busts. That's crazy. So when you think about, how many quarterbacks really hit, like even if they're from the first round, it's not a guarantee, man. Whatever it is, it's not like you're locked in just because you used this pick or that pick. The fact that Mike White is a 5th round pick, I mean, shit, look at Dak Prescott's a 3rd. Tony Romo was an undrafted free agent, right? And then you have the Russell Wilsons and the Kirk Cousins and all these guys. It's all up and down the board. So I think the draft status at this point, he's in his 5th year or something like that, whatever that is, that's all gone now. He's been on numerous NFL teams. He's been able to get on the field and win games against good teams. Like, let's be real. He won that Bengals game last year, and it was a trap game. We know that. That said, he still did a damn good job doing it against some very talented players. The next week against the Indianapolis Colts, right before he got hurt, he had a beautiful drive with that ended with a really nice touchdown to Elijah Moore. And I think that you can't discount that stuff, man. Like, he's done well on an NFL field against NFL teams, and that's more than most quarterbacks ever do. He's already done more. So I struggle with it. At the same time, man, the proof is in the pudding. The guy can play at an NFL level. Can it be sustained is kind of the question, but I think it's very possible, man. I really do.
Greenbean, you said some great things earlier in this stream talking about, we're excited to play in a dome. Mike White had this game in a monsoon. It was the worst weather you could probably ask for, given just 4 days to prepare, 5 days to prepare as the starting quarterback. Mike White in a dome versus a bad passing defense. I don't know. I don't know if I'm, could other teams have more tape on Mike White and maybe that stifles him? Greenbean brought up the Colts game. Before Mike White got injured on the touchdown pass to Elijah Moore, he had 2 drives, 95 yards, and a touchdown. Like, he was on pace to do another, have another good game in Indianapolis. And I think, when you look at the Buffalo game, that's the one kind of people look at and they say, 4 interceptions. Didn't have any weapons. This team is drastically different than it was. He is a facilitator of the football. Look, I think Mike White could be the guy. Obviously, there's a lot more to be said here, and a lot of football to play. We got 6 more games to watch him, so we don't have to make that decision right now, which is kind of nice. Chris KV,
think you can I'm sorry. Go ahead. Well, I'm just saying, like what you said about the rain, like that wasn't just a little drizzle. Like Mike White, and even when I talk about the close calls with the picks, like, dude, he did that. Like, I don't think you can really underestimate the impact that kind of weather has on a game. Dude, 1 week earlier, we heard our quarterback say, hey, it was windy as hell out there. We heard it used as an excuse. That stuff really does matter. And if he can do that well in that type of weather, I think playing in a dome might be able to give him that little tiny burst upward where we can see an even cleaner game. And I think, man, if that happens, I don't think there's really any question about Mike White anymore. I think if he does well this game against the Vikes and the dome might help, I don't think you can really question it anymore. Honestly, I really don't.
He's been impressive. He really has. Chris KV says, random but fun question for you guys. If you could rebuild the divisions in the league, what division would you be in and who would be in it with you? Well, I think AFC East or NFC East, regardless of what acronym you have before East, feels like we should be East or maybe North. I don't know. If I had to rework the divisions, I probably wouldn't put Miami in our division just because it's a very odd team. Like it's like they're in the South.
How dare you?
That is a South team,
you
not an
have to keep them in our division. What's the matter with that? I can't believe you're saying that.
Right? Like I would rather. I don't know who I would rather have. I mean, I guess if you're kind of remapping it, Bills, Patriots, Jets, Steelers, maybe, or Eagles, like that. Like if you're actually mapping it the way like the map.
The G-men.
Yeah. No, the Giants. I mean, I understand, like, but it's kind of like Mets, Yankees, and like that sort of thing where you put them in opposite conferences, so you can always have that talking point of like, well, maybe it's a Giant Super Bowl, you know?
I don't know. Islanders, Rangers, same division is pretty fun. Knicks, Nets.
Fair. It's fair.
Yeah. Let me ask you though, are we talking about like realigning like the NFC and AFC, just kind of starting fresh with all of them?
Yeah, give me
like
all the bottom
some
feeders. I want the Texans. I want the Jaguars. I want the Bears. Give me the the Panthers. Like, yeah, give me the who's in the top 10. Let's put them all in our conference. That's what I want.
Yeah, like if it's going to be the East, right? Like really, like so who do we? Well, I guess like Buffalo, New England, Jets. I mean, they're all on the East. That's actually quite well done. But if you added like the Jags or whatever, I don't know. I think it's kind of good. I really was a fan of when they realigned it last time. Like the Colts were in our division, and there were some really weird ones. Like the Arizona Cardinals were in the NFC East. Like it was bizarre because they used to be St. Louis, and even that is not all that, that's not appropriate either. But I liked what they did. I think it's pretty good right now. They just had to honor some of those rivalries. Like they didn't want to take away some of the really good rivalries like Dallas and the Eagles and Giants and Skins or now the Commanders. They didn't want to do that. So they had to like kind of there was a few of instances where they said the rivalry itself supersedes the alignment. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I think they did a pretty good job overall. I like the divisions the way they are, I think.
So one more thing on the bad weather and the rain. How about that kick from Legatron? 57-yard kick with like 20 yards to spare. That was stupid. In the rain? He looked like he was kicking in Denver. I trust that dude from anywhere on the field. Holy hell. That was awesome. Mumtaz comes in. Mumtaz says, we should double team Jefferson with Sauce and Joyner, put Reed on Thielen, put Michael Carter and Hawkinson. Either way, can't let Jefferson beat us. I think it's a successful game if Jefferson is held to like 70 yards and a touchdown. As much as that's like a good stat line for any wide receiver, like that's holding him in check. There's a lot of weapons on that team. I would say regardless of who you put on Jefferson, he should have safety help over the top. The guy can catch anything thrown his way. I would trust man on everyone else except for Jefferson. Matt, your thoughts on how the Jets are going to defend this offense?
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna I've seen a lot of Sauce is gonna shadow Jefferson, and I don't necessarily think that's gonna be the case. I think you need whatever side Jefferson's on. I think you have safety help over the top that way. He's just that good of a player. So I don't necessarily think it's gonna be it's gonna be Sauce shadowing. That they'll stay on their normal sides and they'll just kind of shift the safety help depending on where he's lining up in the formation.
Green Bean, what about you? How do you think the Jets handle this Vikings offense?
Yeah, I actually agree with Matt. I don't think it's going to be that cut and dry. I think it should. Honestly, I would rather just see Sauce locked down on Jefferson. But Jefferson's so good, man. Like, you know what? I'll share this with you guys because it's in my head, and it's always good to vent with friends and trusted cohorts. I'm nervous about the Sauce Gardner style of play. I have been since the beginning. Now he's done a great job. I'm just uber impressed with this guy. But we saw the call last week, and I'm afraid that against a receiver like Jefferson, if Sauce is on him all day, it could be one of those battles where Sauce Gardner starts to get handsy, and I would really hate to see that happen. I'm just nervous about it. Now, do I think Sauce can play him? I do. I think Sauce is good enough to line up on Jefferson. But ultimately, I think Matt nailed it. I think they're going to play the defense the way that they do, and that sometimes that will mean that Sauce is on Jefferson, and sometimes it'll mean that he's not. The good news is Reed's pretty damn good too.
Guys, in our live chat, we have a pinned comment at the top of the live chat. Vote for all our Pro Bowl players. Vote for all the Jets. Let's get them in. Let's have a record year. Let's get all our guys. We're going to have the full starting team. It's going to be the whole 2022 Jets team as the starting offense. That's what I want to see. Guys, head over there. We also have a poll question in the live chat. We've got almost 400 votes. One of our lovely subscribers asked us earlier, who is hotter, Mike White or Zach Wilson? Right now, Mike White is leading the way with 74% of the vote on Zach Wilson. Sorry, Matt. Mike
Really?
And hey, you know what? I think Richie from Jets Media looks like Mike White. Richie, you're beating Zach Wilson right now. See?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying Mike White's bad-looking fella, but next to Zach, really? I don't know what.
He is like
Absolutely. That's
cookie
that's
cutter,
a winning
generic, regular guy.
Who?
I've seen a million
Zach
of
is?
him at
Mike White has aged like fine wine.
Yeah, right, Matt.
Zach Wilson is too green. Too
if you tripped and fell over him at Roosevelt Field Mall, you'd have no idea who it was. I've seen a million of those guys.
Now, conversely, I agree. I agree with Matt. Now, conversely, Zach is stunning. You know what I mean? He's stunning, bro.
Yeah.
Let's be real here. What are you guys doing? What the fuck? They're voting for who they want to see win. Like, that's what they can't help it.
Exactly.
They can't.
now I want to see. There was that whole Twitter thing of like all the starting quarterbacks with the girl filter on to see like what they would look like. Zach Wilson, halfway decent looking girl. Mike White, I don't know if it necessarily goes the same way, the other way around. But Mike White, that's my vote, and I'm sticking with it. Andrew Yale says, team loves Mike. Post game reminds me of team with Fitz. Yeah, it does seem like there's a little bit of chemistry going right there. Definitely love that. Dylan Grace says, say White goes 3-3 the rest of the season. He loses the last 3 starting with Jacksonville really badly, wins the first 3. We sneak into the playoffs. Are you guys going with White in the wild card? If we get to the wild card because of Mike White, yes, I would go with Mike White. If he goes on like, I mean, if he looks abysmal for 3 straight games and we back our way in, I think it depends on the context of those losses for me. Like if we lose because the defense blew a coverage and it was a late touchdown and White looked all right, I think you got to roll with him. Matt, what would you do?
Yeah, it depends on how he plays in those 3 losses. If he's the reason why they're losing those games and they're putting up like 10 points or something, like averaging 10 points, and he has like, I don't know, let's say 6 picks in those final 3 games, then I think you'd probably make the switch then. But if they're just losing tight games, then no, I think it's really contingent on how he plays here.
Green Bean, what about you? If White goes 3-3, losing the final 3 games of the season, are you pulling the plug?
Losing the final 3, I mean, obviously the scenario would have to apply, right? Like if they're 34-31 losses and the defense is just unable to stop anybody, that kind of thing, that's a different kind of loss than, 10-3 with 2 yards in the second half kind of shit. You know what I mean? I don't know. I would have to wait and see what it looks like. The one thing I will say is that if Mike White gets us there, I'm probably inclined. I wouldn't want to see Zach Wilson's first game back be in the playoffs. That's a little spooky to me.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put that. Jets NY says, nice to crunch numbers for playoffs and not draft order. Yeah, man, I was doing the Monday show yesterday, and I usually have my little graphic around this time of year, and we're looking at the draft order, and I put up the playoff order, and I was like, man, this is weird. Ever since I've been doing this channel, we have stunk. So it's nice not talking about that. JT Nickerson, thank you so much for becoming a member of the channel. Members that are hanging out with us tonight, drop some JETS in the chat. Show JT what kind of emojis he's got. It's a lot of fun. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. 𝐿𝐿𝐽0869 says, almost 900 viewers. Hit the like button. Yeah, we got 442 people that have hit the like button already. Hit that like button. For every 25 likes we get, we're going to pick a qualifier for our t-shirt giveaway that's going to happen in like 5 minutes. So you got to hit the like button right now if you want to be qualified. And if you're listening to the show after the fact, make sure you hit the like button anyway because you want to help out us. But just leave a comment on the video down below and you'll be entered into next week's t-shirt giveaway. Brian Bogan says, have you seen the wink? Mike White's hotter. Yeah, dude, the ESPN tweet with the wink playing I Want to Be Like Mike. Got a big old chubby from watching that. I must have watched it on repeat like over and over again. It was actually the intro for my 5 takeaway video this past week. And like Becca was asking me what I was doing because I shot the beginning part of that like dancing a bunch of times, and I just had it on repeat. Like I was probably like 300 of the views that video has right now. I absolutely love it. So Brian, I'm on board. I think you are absolutely correct. Chris Style, thank you so much for the super chat. No comment attached to it that I can see, so I'll just say thank you. It is what it is. Ramani AD, he comes in, he says, stranger than fiction, in the past 21 years, over 60 quarterbacks have been drafted in the first round. Only 5 have won a Super Bowl. 2 were Eli. 2 were BB. Who's BB?
Big Ben.
Big Ben. That throws me off. It should be BR. 1 Peyton Manning, 1 Aaron Rodgers, 1
Matt Stafford.
Matt Stafford. I am just saying, Mike White has a chance. Let's effing go. Yeah, right. Like I he's got a shot. He's got a shot. Like, when you talk about eliminating, say, Brady and the 2 Manning brothers, like that frees up like 10 Super Bowls in the last 20 years. It's crazy. It's absolutely insane. So it's weird. This last stretch of years has been such a skewing towards those particular quarterbacks. I think the interesting stat is one that they showed during our game against the Bears, and it was something along the lines of like running quarterbacks don't win Super Bowls, and Russell Wilson was the most running quarterback to win a Super Bowl, and he had like 60 rushes in the season that he did it. And like Justin Fields has some insane amount of rushes already. So they were talking about that, and with Lamar Jackson possibly looking for a bunch of money. Can you win with those guys, and is it worth paying the kind of money you're going to have to pay for a running quarterback that hasn't really proven to be able to win a Super Bowl? Now, it is more of a newer phenomenon now, so I do think you're going to see more mobile quarterbacks win Super Bowls. But you saw guys like Cam Newton make it, and I think it's possible. I don't know. It's interesting. Interesting stuff. Thanks so much, Romani. Chris Style, thank you again for another $1 super chat. I'm assuming you probably don't know how to put a comment with it. If you leave a comment in the chat and I see it before we end this thing, I'll throw it on screen. So don't worry about super chat and just throw it up there. RJ McPott says, Max Mitchell got 3 big tests ahead of him. Love you guys. Yeah, I think he's got what? Danielle Hunter. He's got Von Miller possibly coming back. And then the Lions would be Aiden Hutchinson. So it's going to be a little bit of a test here for our offensive line, but I don't think it's anything they can't handle. Matt, you think Max Mitchell has this on lock?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's really impressed me. I obviously there's been other rookies who have been more dominant, but my expectations for him were probably the lowest, and he's exceeded tremendously where I thought he would be. So, yes.
JT Nickerson says, does this team have a running back problem next year? No, because Breece Hall's coming back. Even if he has the ACL injury and it takes him a little bit longer to get back, I wanted Mike White to be, or not Mike White, sorry. I wanted Michael Carter to be our starter anyway before we drafted Breece Hall. So I'm fine with Michael Carter holding the reins even for the first, quarter of the season, whatever it may be. And then you look at our backups. Bam Knight, if he has to be the third back, cool. Ty Johnson, third back, all right. Brian Robinson comes back, third back, okay. I don't think we have a running back problem at all. Green Bean, what say you?
Dude, as long as Ty Johnson gets the ball more, I'm okay. That's all I really want.
I've flipped my script on him and Joyner. I have enjoyed.
yeah.
I can see why the team likes Ty Johnson. It's the flub ups, like the 3 dropped passes against Jacksonville, that sort of stuff. That stuck with me, I think, more than any of his good stuff did, and I think that might be a little bit of a problem.
Yeah. Well, totally. I mean, that's the thing with him. It's like, he not only that, it's like when he's in pass protection, he gets positively steamrolled, and he's fumbled the ball. So it's like and we've said this, man, I know we've said it more than once. When he has the ball in his hands, he has a lot of potential to be like electric is the word that I always use. But the negatives kind of have outweighed, it just makes it so you can't count on him. You feel nervous. But I do understand why they like his potential. And if he can continue to do what he did the other day, I mean, that was fantastic, man. He had a 12.4 yard average, and he had that really important, reception for a big first. So I'm all over it. And I think, just like you said, I was okay with Michael Carter being the starter, the lead back as well. I did want to see him paired with someone, but I was thinking like Rachaad White in the 4th round, who's doing fantastic, by the way. I was thinking like going that route as opposed to bringing in like a premier back in front of him. But either way, I mean, I trust Michael Carter. I think he's a fantastic ball player. Both in the passing game and in the running game. I think having Brees, Michael Carter, James Robinson, Bam, and if Ty Johnson's in the mix, I think we have a great bunch of guys to choose from.
Guys, make sure you hit that like button. We're going to be picking some qualifiers here. Green Bean, make sure you got all your qualifiers picked out. Matt, can you head to last week's video? Let's pick out 5 qualifiers for our t-shirt giveaway. I'm going to head over to the Twitter sphere. See what's going on over there. Mario Jets fan says, which Jets wide receiver would you start in fantasy this week at Minnesota? Hopefully, thankful for all the content, boys. So I would start, if I had to pick one. I mean, I don't know how you don't start Garrett Wilson after having the 2 touchdowns and the connections that him and White had. I'll be honest, I don't know how the Vikings are going to play us. I would say it's got to be him or Elijah Moore. I would go Garrett Wilson. Matt, your thoughts?
Garrett, over the last 4 weeks, he's on pace for like 1,300 receiving yards. He's been on fire.
Absolutely wild. Love it. Red John says, you called Brian Robinson 3 times, LOL, Green Bean.
Me?
No, I think I called him. I think I did it. I think he's just laughing at you. I think.
Oh.
He says LOLGN. Good night.
He says,
That means good night.
maybe it is Green Bean.
Yeah.
Maybe I could have sworn I flubbed it up. Maybe I just said Robinson. I don't know. I don't know. I've had a few beers.
Funny? I heard you say Brian Robinson too, and it actually made its way into almost my consciousness, like almost, but I heard it once at least.
I don't know. My brain's cooked. Chris Styles,
totally. We talk a lot
earlier,
man, right? We talk
had a
lot.
super chat.
Sorry,
had another super chat. He says Elijah Moore is the wide receiver he'd take. He also said the Jets have a win now team, no time for games. So he's talking about either switching back to Zach Wilson or what you think you're going to wind up doing as far as our decision making goes. Yeah, look, there's a lot of JETS, Brian Robinson, James Robinson, Baskin Robinson, who cares?
That's awesome. That's a great comment, dude. I just saw that.
That was top tier. I enjoyed that one. I don't even know where I was going with that. But yeah, all right, let's do a little Rochambeau. Matt, who you got for our qualifiers?
Okay, first up, we'll go with Bethpage Chris.
Okay.
Then we'll go Mark Ferraro 841.
841. Okay.
Stephen Craig 3169.
Sorry, what was the number? 3169.
Yep.
Oh, good. Right.
William Pineda.
All right.
And we'll go Billy D78.
That's Twitter, right? Is that what you're doing, Matt?
He's doing
No, they
last week's
changed-
stream.
Yeah,
Oh,
they
okay.
changed on YouTube. It's all ats now, so it looks different. I was confused
Yeah.
as well.
What?
I gotta learn. There's a whole bunch of new shit. Even the URLs. I was trying to teach. I teach a YouTube class to little kids, and yesterday was the
that's
last
great.
class. And I was trying to get them to like subscribe to each other's channels, and I was telling, and like all the URLs were fucking weird, like with ats, and I'm like, what is this? I don't know what the hell's going on.
I know they added the
YouTube
tags.
changed
Like,
everything.
I think we can now get tagged in like other people's videos. Like I think like let's say someone tagged me in Matt's video in a comment.
Yes.
I think I would get a notification now. I don't think it's happened to me yet. I like it though. I think it's a good thing. Discoverability. It's important. Green Bean, I got some names for you from the Twitter sphere. Let's go Mike White.
All right.
SZN. Got to do that, right? Had to pick that one.
Yeah, totally.
We're gonna go 𝐒𝐿𝐶 because of our poll question. We're gonna go Anthony
Yeah,
Cook.
Zach's a hunk of burning love.
Amen.
Anthony Cook.
Yeah.
Let's go Nick Dalbora. Who else do we want? Let's go Daniel Murphy. Go Daniel Murphy on there.
Look, it's good to get a little Irish guy to wrap it up. You know what I mean?
Right?
Now,
Yeah, why
pick-
not?
I'm going to do one more in the chat. So let's see what Nightbot picks. Here we go.
Ooh.
And who is it? I hope it's Green Bean. Oh, balls be hurting. He already won.
Balls be hurting.
Hold on. Yeah, he's already in the mix. Let's see.
I hope
Come
he
on,
gets
Nightbot.
it.
Yeah, me too. I'm rooting for balls be hurting. Let's see. Let's make it John. There it is. Holy shit, it's John. That's awesome. John actually
Oh,
asked.
no way.
That's great. He actually asked, like, hey, man, get me in the mix. I said, I'm trying. That's great, dude. Perfect. Okay. All right. We're ready.
I love it. All right. Let's do a little odds or evens here. 3, 2, 1. 7. Oh, yeah, 7. Math is hard.
Mikey Mouse, you're out. Better Call Saul is gone. Twisted is out. Jingle Dubs, you're out. Junior Aquino is gone. Zach is gone. Balls be hurting, you're out. Sorry.
No!
I
This is
know.
bullshit.
Jets Gang is out. Steve Larson is out. Jets 830 is out. John, you're out. That was quick. Mark Ferraro, William Pineda. Let's see here. Mike White season is gone. Anthony Cook is gone. And the Mick. Daniel Murphy is gone. There he goes.
That's ridiculous. All right, boys. 3, 2, 1. That's Nate.
Ooh, even. Okay. Joe S., you're out. Zaz, you're out. 46 Flashlights is out. Kevy Lower, you're out. Italian Loving the Irish is out. Stephen Craig, you're gone. Zach Hunko is out.
It's because Mike White's better.
That's right. All right,
We
got
finished
some
with
names here.
73% for Mike White, by the way.
That's incredible. I just can't believe. It's bullshit, Matt, right? Isn't it?
I think I
Only-
skewed the results.
Yeah, only
but that's
27% have taste. What is this?
That's generally the case. It's generally the case. The masses are usually wrong. Like whatever is popular, I usually don't like it anyway. You know what I mean?
All right. 3, 2, 1. 8.
All right. Jin Pak, you're out. He's in there every week. He just can't seem to win. Chiron is out. Beth Page Chris, you're gone. And Nick Del Boro is out. We are down to 4, guys.
Ooh. All right. 3, 2, 1. That's another 8. We got 3 8s in a row.
W, you're gone. Billy D is gone. We're down to Dio and Eric Craig. That's it. That's all we got.
Chat, give us a number. 3, 2, 1. That's a 5. Mike White, baby.
Did the chat
Plus
give a number?
5,698 plus 5 is 5,703. That is an odd number.
Dio, you're the winner. Sorry, Eric. Eric Craig is out. Dio, you're the winner.
Dude, reach out to me on one of my social media platforms. Let me get your information. Let's send you a shirt. Boys and girls, it's been a lot of fun flying with you guys tonight. Let's go around, give our closing thoughts. Green Bean, any words for our panel?
Yep, I'm going to do it again. Let's hang out right after this. 10:30 p.m. on Green Bean Jets Fan. We'll do a little after hours love fest. We usually hang out for an hour or two, just chit-chatting about stuff. So you can do that. Come over and hang out with us. We'd love to have you.
Matt, any last words for our panel?
New episode of Just Jets drops tomorrow, 8 a.m. Get it while it's hot. And Jets are getting the dub in Minnesota. How about that?
Let's go. Let's take these Twin Cities down. Boys and girls, thank you so much for flying with us tonight. This is Jets Talk signing off. JETFAN.